Call to order. Mr. Albro,
Present.
Ms. Calderon, Mr. DeCosta,
Present.
Ms. Goffinger,
Here.
Mr. Lombardi,
Here.
Mr. Lino,
Here.
Vice President Dunn,
Here.
President Gomez.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board statements. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the New Milford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall and the New Milford Public Library. Notices have been sent to the record in the Twin Borough News. The board announces that under its long-standing policy, it will not discuss in public any comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. At this time, please be advised that all cell phones and electronic devices are to be turned off. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments from the public. The first at the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, for all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Due to confidentiality and legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked to not speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee of the board or any student. Okay, recommended action. I seek a motion. Oh, there's nothing here. Okay, so superintendent of schools report.
All right. Good evening, everyone who's watching and who's in attendance tonight. Not much on this agenda because we just had Board of Education meeting, I feel like, very recently, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. But there are a couple standard things that we have to do. I want to talk about the graduation pathways report. So annually, every single year by September 30th, Chief School Administrator has to report out on how our 2025 seniors graduate, because there are multiple different pathways that students can use to graduate. It's not just pass the test and go. The three pathways are outlined in our board policy 5460, high school graduation, which allows students to prove proficiency in math and language arts in the following ways. One is to pass the NJGPA, which is the statewide assessment. Number two is pass an alternate approved assessment like a PSAT, SAT, or ACT. Or students engage in a portfolio appeals process, or special education students can also graduate in an alternate assessment based on accommodation modifications in their IEP. So we had 153 students graduate New Milford High School last year in 2025. Of those 153 graduates, 126 graduated using the NJGPA, 2 students graduated using the PSAT, 15 students graduated using the portfolio appeals process, 10 students met the alternate requirements as defined in their IEP, and 0 students were denied graduation because of failure to meet any of the aforementioned requirements. So that is the annual report that we have to give. Other items on the agenda that I'd like to discuss. The HIV report. So I'd like approval of the August-September 2025 HIV report. In New Milford High School, there is 0 HIV 338 forms submitted. In DEO, there is 1 HIV 338 form submitted that is currently being investigated. In Berkeley, there was 0 HIV 338 forms submitted, and Gibbs the same, 0 HIV 338 forms submitted. I'd like you to turn your attention to the nursing services plan. So the nursing services plan is done every single year. Last year and the year before, we got it approved in October. We tried to push the envelope a little bit because basically it was ready because we got CUSAC last year, and a couple of the recommendations that we had to show and fix on the nursing plan were to include more of the non-publics. I don't know if you realize, New Milford's very small, but we have 3 non-publics within our borders, and we have to work with them. Because DASTA especially, special services a lot as well, transportation and everything else with Ms. Kuchar, Dr. Kuchar. We have to do a lot for the non-publics. All state reporting comes through us. We have to have meetings with them. The nursing plan is one of those things as well. We thought we had it ready to go, but I told the nurses not to rush it. We'll probably have the October agenda, not this agenda, basically because the state, after we got everything where we wanted to with CUSAC, just released a new form that they are recommending us use. It is a lot more encompassing, and so as they work through it, I want them to do it right the first way, because in every of their subsequent year, it's easier to just kind of look through it and make subtle changes, so I want them doing it right the first way. So if it's not ready by the regular agenda, that is why. Resignations. 2 resignations. We thank those people for their service. One person in particular, I'm going to talk more about at the regular session, but Coach Hartney is retiring from coaching. He was our indoor and outdoor track person, and he coached for over 40 years, over 30 at least in New Milford. So I'm going to find out specifics, but I want to give that guy a shout out. He is not retiring from New Milford as a whole. He is still our floating substitute every day in the high school. And now he is heading up a new program we have for substitutes, where our teachers are not calling for individual substitutes anymore when they're absent. We have Coach Hartney and the SRO in the cafeteria, and all kids report there, and they do their schoolwork there, because we think they'll save, over $100,000 in substitutes. That's one of the things, Stephanie came up with, and trying to save money for the district, and it's working really well right now. And he is a drill sergeant, so he's holding everybody accountable. So shout out to him. Also under athletics and co-curricular, I'd just like to thank the volunteer. We can always use help, especially when it's free, and it's a clear love and passion for the support they're helping out with, so I appreciate it. A couple other things that we're going to bring up. The China trip. This was a big discussion last year. I shared resources with you last Friday. They are meeting all of the new policy. So over the summer, we redid the policy for field trips, including international field trips, and they made the proposal the summer preceding. Student safety has been looked at in terms of the travel advisory. There's a debate last year because the travel advisory was 3. It is now a 2, and it's been a steady 2 for a long time. They have cost estimates, they have justification, time and duration. I think last year, one of the issues that I had and why I ultimately didn't recommend it was because everything was happening so fast, and I don't think our policy supported the vetting of the trip as well as we should. This is a big trip, and they got it to us very early. I've been watching China, reading about it. The places that they're going tend to be very safe. But there's also things that we wanted to be done prior to the trip that would have been very rushed. So, should we, next meeting, I'm probably going to recommend approval for it, but under the stipulation that she meets the policy in terms of parent meetings with cost. I talked to Stephanie about insurance, which now I know. I want guarantees that if it does rise to a level 3, I want it in writing from the company that it can be canceled and money given back. But really the key is that the parents are aware and part of the process, so they understand the risk reward involved in this, the expectation, the visas, the passports with the company, and how insurance works and everything else. Should something happen, who goes out there, that all has to be done. And I'd like to be a part of those meetings, and in that meeting at least for the first time as we vet through it. We are lucky enough, in talking to a couple of board members last year, we cannot gloss over the fact that we have teachers who want to go on international trips and go on even national trips. That is something that is not in every school. And I can also guarantee going to China to show these kids this experience and show them this culture does not happen in every school. And it's a balancing act of affording these kids this trip, supporting the teacher who, it's not easier for her to go. I mean, I talked to her at length about it, and she's like, listen, this is not for me. She's like, I go to China every summer. This is like for the kids because they work hard in Mandarin and they really want to see the culture. So if everything is done the way it's supposed to be and it checks out, I have no problem with it. So I'm giving you ample time to think about it, ask me any questions, and then for the regular session, I'll probably put it on the agenda because then that will give her time to advertise, get the parent meeting in, and everything else. Okay? I think our policy now supports it. If you read the policy, it was approved last month. I think I shared the policy with you as well, and it's just more thorough, and it makes me feel better, and I can now say, the board's assets, we are protecting them because we are vetting it more properly and more thoroughly. All right? That's that. Stephanie, do you want me to talk about the committees?
I've gone through
Oh,
the.
no, perfect. Perfect. With that being said, I'll let Dr. Kuchar handle that. Any questions for me? All right, that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay. Assistant Superintendent Report, Lorna Doxta.
Good evening, everyone. So I was just we have a lot on the agenda for next week under Ed Programs and Curriculum, so I was going to talk you through some of these items. Beginning with C2526.7, we are seeking approval of the 25-26 District Professional Development Plan and Mentoring Plan. We do these annually. They encompass our goals for the year as well as they're really driven by, first, our identified needs. There's a measurable goal, and then what actions we'll take, including professional development and the work really that encompasses our full year. The mentoring plan details the work that our novice teachers engage in, so those coming to us without standard certs. So once hired, they move into a provisional cert. This mentoring plan is required of them to attain the standard cert, and it includes formal mentoring with someone in the district, accruing a certain number of hours, and really documenting the work that they're doing on an ongoing basis. We, below that, are approving those teachers with their mentors for the year. Some of these are continuation because they were here with us last year. They're just finishing the 30 weeks that is required of them. Student teaching placements. I know last board meeting we had Ms. Finizia on the agenda for approval, working with Mr. Peroni as one of her mentors. So NJXL actually requires 2 mentors. There's a school-based mentor and a supervisory mentor. So Dr. Chrysomalis will be serving as the school-based mentor, and I already talked to Lauren about some different opportunities that we can expose her to as part of this work. We're also approving 2 new courses in the high school this year. One of them is Heritage Spanish 1 and Intro to Music Theory. Intro to Music Theory, our existing course that we had prior to this school year was very comprehensive. So the curriculum was rewritten, and we're now with Ms. Corzelius on board. We looked forward to launching that for students. The Heritage Spanish 1 course is really a course tailored for students who already have some degree of exposure to Spanish at home or in their communities. So we have a large Spanish-speaking population, and our language courses are really traditional language courses in that we're not taking into account the exposure and experiences that students may come to us with. So we're really excited at launching this course to accommodate students who already come to us with that proficiency in Spanish. And then also very exciting this evening, we're approving a number of option 2 experiences. So this is C2526.13. These are students who are awarded alternate forms of credit. So the state of New Jersey allows us to provide alternate experiences for students outside of the traditional classroom, and it encompasses things like summer school, independent studies, internships, online coursework, which as you can see here is a big one, and alternate PE or physical education option 2. I just want to note with the physical education requirements, there is that 150-minute requirement for students each week. We are verifying that students who belong to a team sport here in New Milford are satisfying that requirement, so this frees them up during that time to pursue learning in other areas. A lot of the online courses that we're approving for these students is for advancement purposes, or things that we don't offer here in New Milford, such as some of the language course that you see, and the science. Finally, next week we have an ed programs and curriculum committee meeting on the calendar, and we're going to meet prior to our regular session on Tuesday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just regarding the last thing you mentioned.
Sure.
So what would the physical education option 2, what would that be?
So those are students who are members of a team, and we have really, so we're verifying through the coach that they're meeting the 150 minutes outside of the PE classroom, and then they are reporting to another location and pursuing whether, I know these students particularly are enrolled in AP courses, so they're dedicating that time to
Oh, okay.
their
Oh,
And this,
course load.
yeah, and they've had this in New Milford for a long time. And this is something that Emma Grady brought up at the last Board of Ed meeting before she left for the summer. And she was just like, they'd really like to bring it back and take a look at it, because maybe 1 or 2 kids were really doing it and it wasn't advertised. And I'll be honest with you, that, you know, we worked on this.
Yeah.
This is definitely a communal effort. Mr. Riccadelli, Ms. Sullivan, the new guidance person, Mrs. Dodson, myself, we really just tore apart the original version of it. And I'll be honest, we made it a lot more strict. So you have to have a certain rigor of courses. You have to report in. You have to report bi-monthly to the supervisor to make sure they're. If you are not where you're supposed to be 2 times, you are out. This is not just a freebie time to walk around. These are set aside for times like promoting kids who are taking very rigorous courses, like 2 AP courses at a time or more, where we feel like, all right, they're playing football or tennis, they're getting their 150-minute requirement. Let's help them on their journey to push themselves with that rigor. This is not for, a student who just wants to hang out and go on their phone. This is not for that. So they have to be vetted, they have to sign in. And I thank everybody who worked on it. And I think this plan is going to be a lot more sound and work and really be beneficial for the kids it's supposed to be serving. Because,
Yeah, the students refer to it as opting out of PE, which sounds like they're just not doing something, but actually they're participating in option 2. So they're, taking advantage of still getting the credit for work that they do outside of the school day in this area, but then dedicating the time to their other studies.
yeah, it's neat to offer too, and they can't opt out, they call it, of health. Like, health is mandatory,
required.
they have to go to health. The only tricky part is the seasons don't match up with the marking periods. So that is something that we basically said, okay, after your season, you're done, you wait till the end of the marking period, and then you go. So it's a clean break for the teachers as well, because it has to be organized for the teachers as well, and graded, right?
We streamlined those dates and they were shared with the students.
Yeah.
It's not something new, we just kind of
Cleaned it up a little bit.
revamped it and cleaned it up.
Is it an option for freshmen, sophomore, juniors, or is it just
Great
seniors?
question. Just juniors and seniors right now.
Upperclassmen.
Because we have, again, it's for higher level courses, which is usually the juniors and seniors anyway, but it's kind of like they've earned that privilege as well. We can trust them, we know who they are through the vetting process, so that all has to do with, we want our younger kids in gym, in PE,
And we still want to make sure that they're meeting the requirements
Yes.
for graduation.
Yes, that's very important.
okay.
So we think we did well, and
Yep.
a great team effort.
Okay, business administrator report, Stephanie Kuchar.
Good evening. Tonight it's really going to be more of like the board secretary piece, because I would like for you all to consider, I spoke to Heather about this because we have an ad hoc public relations committee, an ad hoc bylaws committee, and an ad hoc pilot housing committee, which I don't think really ever meet. The pilot housing was sort of big, and then it's not.
After one meeting.
Yeah, because they're moving forward with it, and there's really no need to have it anymore. And the undertaking that we're going through with our transportation right now is sort of going to be very large decisions with a large impact and a future impact for the district as well as the community as a whole. And so I think it's really important. A lot of that work could be done in finance and facilities, but I think it's important to have a committee dedicated to transportation just because of the direction that we intend to sort of go. So I think that at this point we can eliminate the 3 ad hoc committees, and maybe we even make it an ad hoc for now, on transportation, and see how it goes before we really adopt it as a full committee, but I think the work that's gonna go into this is sort of large, and I don't necessarily think that it should be tucked into finance and facilities. So at the regular session next week, we can put up, if you guys decide who's gonna be a part of that committee, we can revise the committee assignments for 25. You'll also have a board vacancy to fill, so I don't know if you wanna wait for that, and then because you're gonna have to, Ms. Ryan was a part of the negotiations committee, you'll have to appoint somebody else to that committee. So maybe that work is done after you appoint a new board member. Whatever you guys wanna do, I just wanna put it out there for consideration.
I definitely want to jump on that too. The transportation, we are making some big decisions. We're all under statute, all under policy, nothing illegal obviously. But we want you, the committee, part of those decisions to get the Board of Ed more involved, because ultimately as we go down this road to like be more cost savings, more efficient, we need you to be very aware. So I would strongly recommend that.
And then with that, Mr. Galasso and I were talking about, it's very difficult to schedule committee meetings with all of your schedules. And so if we can have the chairs schedule a standing meeting every month, and so it's on everybody's calendar, and if there's no need to meet, we can cancel it instead of trying to find a date to meet. Because I do think that's one of your board goals this year.
It was something we discussed last year. I know Nicole brought it up, and I think we need to really hold to it, because just for everyone to know what their schedules are and when we're having these meetings.
And we can schedule them out, for the rest of the year, just the third Tuesday is this, and the ease of using Google Meet now and everything like that, it makes it very easy for everyone at a certain time in which we can plan around that. Or if you want them in person, contact is going to be before a meeting, right? Before the work session meeting, we can meet, instead of meeting at, 7, we can be here at 6:15. That committee and meet before, because very rarely do we have closed session before the work session unless, HIBs are involved or anything like that. So it's just a consideration. We think it would be a good idea to get those up there, because some of the hardest parts, like Stephanie said, is trying to wrangle everyone with their busy schedules to get the meetings together.
Yeah, like I know a policy alert just came out, so like that's gonna have some work. We're headed into budget season already, so like I think it's important negotiations. We have scheduled the opening, like all these committees are gonna have a lot of work. So I think it's just important to get that on the schedule. So if the chairs of those committees can reach out and schedule those with each member of the committee, that would be helpful. And then just let us know when you guys decide. And now, that's the board business side of it. For everything else, transportation is going, started, and we're slow. We're getting a lot of complaints from a lot of people, and we're working on it. Usually as students are more comfortable with the stops and pickups, as the schools get more comfortable with the buses, but we know and we understand that everybody has been late, and we're working through that. The drivers and the bus aides have been great in sort of, managing the lateness, and sometimes that creates behaviors, especially because the majority of our transportation is with our special ed population. So any sort of difference in their schedules. So we have had some behaviors on the bus, and all that is being addressed, but we do understand that we're late. On like 3 or 4 different routes, and that's really because when we put these routes out to bid, it costs us so much money, and so all of our routes are at least triple tiered, and some of them are doing 5 routes before they're coming back. And so we've really maxed out our buses and our transportation. We had inspections today, and we passed all our buses but one. So we have 30 days to correct that, and all of our buses will remain on the road. The food services at DEO and the high school, I think we're in day 3 or 4 of food service, and right now our sales are up and everything is going smoothly, and the first day of service at the elementary schools is Monday. And that's gonna be a little bit different, and I'm sure that we'll meet with some challenges there because it's the first time that the elementaries in a long time are not pre-ordering their meals. The students are gonna go through a line. We printed IDs, they're not really swiping the IDs. The food service, the Pontonian employees are gonna do that. If we find that it's working, and we may introduce the students swiping as they're going through the line because that'll definitely speed it up. So we're gonna work through that. That's beginning on Monday.
Kindergarten is still pre-ordering, but
Correct.
1 through 5 is not pre-ordering, so they're gonna be like big boys and girls. And if mom needs them to have lunch and didn't have time to make it, they can go in that day and they can get a lunch. Which is just like DEO, just like the high school, and just like the majority when we talk to Pontonian. There are certain reasons why we have to do this with Pontonian to be more efficient. He said the majority of schools, the majority of elementary schools do. The pre-ordering is a lot of work on the back end.
Can I, was the parents notified at the elementary schools about this?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also a big distinction to an elementary lunch and a high school lunch. It's called offer versus serve. That the high school students have options of what constitutes a meal, and I'll bore you with the details of that. The elementary is sort of provided like a meal. There are some options if they want chicken fingers or pizza, but it's really like a full meal. They're not able to select like a vegetable, like the whole meal. And so it's not really gonna be, they're going through the line just getting snacks. They have to get a meal. So I think that's important. And then the one item under finance is F2526.31, which is approval of the 25-26 budget calendar. We are actually gonna start beginning the budget process now. We're gonna send it out, and it's that time. It really starts going in, yeah, it really starts in like December. A lot of the work really picks up, but the process starts now. So we're just seeking the approval of the budget calendar for 25. For the, actually, it's the 26-27 budget. We're in 25-26. So that's a correction. That concludes my report for this evening.
Does anyone have any questions for Stephanie?
Just a
Andrew?
question about their transportation. I feel like the traffic around here is just so ridiculous. And I don't know if it's everybody just dropping their kids off in the buses, but I see some cones here and there. Is there any way we can work with the town to do more, or maybe blocking off streets, or allowing cars in certain areas, on the buses, like just to kind of clear the air? Because I do the high school and the middle school drop off, and just to get here and then get over there is like, I go all the way around.
And I heard pickup going from high school to pick up at DEO, that Madison to Boulevard is brutal. It's on our radar, and believe it or not, we've got a couple of emails. I'm shocked. Mostly stemming from the middle school. We are going to work with Officer Casano, who is the traffic guy, to see what we can do. Many parents have offered their suggestions in terms of blocking off streets. We do not have any control over that. I was actually out at the back of DEO morning-wise, perusing what was going on Monday morning. I went there just because I was getting a couple emails, and I like to go see for myself. And I was out there with, Mr. Bilala, like, all right, I see what's going on now. I see how we can improve things maybe, but we have to work with the police in order to do so. So the construction doesn't help that by any means, and hopefully that's over sooner than later. But it is, you're not wrong. It's congested.
Anyone else? Okay. Any liaison board committee reports? Any correspondence?
None this evening.
Okay, agenda items for discussion. Review of board action. Does anyone have any questions or comments? No? Review of educational programs and curriculum. Review of personnel recommendations. Review of finance and facilities. Review of athletics and co-curricular. Okay, any old business? New business? I just wanted to mention for the public, we did have a board member stepped out, so we do have an opening if anyone wants to apply. Please let us know. It's been posted. That's all I have to say. On our website, but also in the paper. Yeah. Okay, open to the public, as outlined in the Milford Board of Education bylaw 0167. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. I seek a motion to open. Stephanie, seconded by Tony. All in favor? Opposed? Anyone from the public? Okay, I seek a motion to close to the public. Andrew, seconded by Nicole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any board member requests for additional information? Okay, closed session. It is hereby moved that the Board of Education adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provision of Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. Oh, okay. For the purpose of discussion and consideration of matters pertaining to the following student matter, the minutes of the executive session will be made to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. I seek a motion to hold the court. And personnel. I didn't know who would. I seek a motion. Stephanie, second by John, all in favor? Opposed? We will not be seeking, we do any motions when we open, so, thank you.